All right. All right.
Do you want me to just keep going, David? Yeah.
Yeah, just keep going.
No problem.
I'm here.
Okay. All right. Anybody have anything for Management Monday? I'll start with you, Caroline.
I guess I said on Friday, this thing. Oh, I wanted to, David, you said something about doing a name. This is what I sort of woke up early this morning thinking, what was he saying about doing a simple
yes.
name change form? What were you proposing?
It's because of Stanford's project. So
Right.
their project is getting people to do a name change with the standardized set of fields.
Oh, I see. Gotcha. And so we could just do our own name change form and then show them how easy it is and how it should be done, where you don't have to use forms and then do e-filing.
Or when they build their name change form, we could be the one who builds the name change form.
Meaning we assembly line,
yeah, or really meaning you.
Meaning Alaska,
I gotcha.
that you
or
Alaska.
Oh,
Alaska is
I
one of the
see what you're
partners,
saying.
right?
Yeah.
The concern, or my concern, is so Stanford is doing this project. They've gotten together a collection of multiple jurisdictions, and they're trying to convince them all to agree upon a common name change that they will all accept. And part of what they also want to do with that is to create an online interactive interview to help facilitate that workflow. And in all but 2 of the states, of which Alaska is not one of them, it's going to produce a so in which Alaska is one of the ones that this will happen to. 2 of the states are going to do true e-filing, but in Alaska and the other states, it seems from what we've been told that they will produce a PDF and then email it to the court. And so I guess I really have 2 concerns. One concern is that if the higher ups that are doing this do this, and then they end up using some other technology to create their form other than the assembly line, that then the jurisdiction might get tied to that technology, and it might have a hard time moving to DocAssemble or continuing down the DocAssemble road. So the worry for you would be, oh, they decide, some company comes in and says, oh, we'll do it, and then they do it, and then the higher ups are like, well, we have these people who are doing this thing, let's just keep using them.
Right.
And it avoids DocAssemble. So that's one concern. The other concern, though, I guess I have is that the emailing of this form, although everyone thinks this is going to make everyone's life easier, I don't think will make people's lives easier, and will actually make it a lot more difficult, because then the clerks will have to change their workflow and they'll get really prickly and unhappy. So I guess the other concern is any reputational harm that comes about because of that. I'm afraid will get put on us, even if we aren't the ones to build it, because someone's going to
they'll just think e-filing and they'll think, oh shit, this is even more work. Yeah.
And so I guess the concern is, one, that they might choose some other technology and stop Alaska from going forward with DocAssemble, or even if they use DocAssemble or some other technology, that their experience with that might tarnish their opinions towards DocAssemble and that sort of stuff. So it's sort of like keep your friends close and your enemies closer thing. Not that anyone's actually enemies here, but the notion is that it probably is worth your time to keep your ear to the ground and figure out what's going on so that you can avoid them from driving off a cliff.
Right. Yeah. Because we've done that so many times already. All right. So that's, I guess that's what I sort of said that on Friday, is just this idea of finding out what's happening with the e-filing. And I'm sort of like third whisper down the lane, but I'm pushing and trying to understand what they're doing. So.
Yeah, and the key thing is just, it's probably, you should know there's stuff going on somewhere that might somehow affect your work. And so you should keep an eye out for that.
Yeah.
However you feel best to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I was pleased that they actually even invited me to the meeting on the child support affidavit. So that was good. And I'll be interested to see what she ends up with Documate and see what, because even if they do, there is all the work that goes into it, like actually writing the real questions and the flow. And they were coming up with, they're struggling with the same thing everybody else is struggling with, is how do you ask people about their income? Especially, up here, you have all these other things that we don't really think about in Massachusetts. Like there's a huge military contingent and they get something called COLA, which is different from Social Security. I mean, it's the same acronym, but everybody knows what COLA, if you're in the military, the cost of living adjustment it's spelled out differently for the military, and they have something different from a W-2. It's called a LETS or something. I don't know what it is. So they're very aware of military income has very specific pieces and parts. So I was learning all kinds of stuff, and they're coming up with questions about income that we have not discussed because I was not aware of it. And then they have a lot of seasonal workers because of fishermen. And there's some other questions that came up, I can't remember, which I thought, oh, we haven't thought of that before. So, I mean, they're just working this out now. So I'll definitely, get back to you when I understand a little bit more about it. But
sounds like a really hard form to do and document without having any
that's what I was sort of
questions.
gleefully saying. You probably can't do this in document. So, and maybe I'll find some time and Michelle and I can get back to this and do it ourselves, because I'd really like to do that. But I think I also like the idea that they're going to put together all the questions and the way they want them. You know what I mean? So if we can take those questions and be ready to do it in DocAssemble. And I know they want to get off of Documate anyway, because I think that they have to pay a fee for having their Documate interviews hosted. And then who knows I mean, I know ultimately they want to do e-filing, but so there are these two women who are actually working on the forms. There's Jeannie, who's their supervisor in Access to Justice. She's also my supervisor. And Jeannie is on the e-filing committee, which sounds like it's got quite a few people, different players, and they're not, and we're in Anchorage and they're doing e-filing and not in Anchorage courts, in some other courts. So I'm just, just learning my way around who's doing what, but trying to pay attention and keep you guys up to date. From what I can tell, you know more than I do.
Well, yeah, I don't know if we know more. We'll see.
So,
well, it'll be interesting to see what happens at this summit at Stanford too.
When's that?
About a month.
Okay.
16.
All right. I'll keep my ear out for that too.
October 14th. Sorry, I was looking at September. It's like, oh, it's on a Friday. Yeah.
So I think that's all I've got.
Okay. Bryce, any management stuff?
I feel like there should be, but I'm grasping at straws. Other than I don't quite think updating production has been going swell. In terms of like, there are at least a few, which is one of those things I don't quite know what we could have done to avoid them, besides just obviously like better testing overall on all of our interviews. But like, there were two-ish things, and now there's one that looks like I was reminded because of something that was in the last interview. And so I've been going through at least like the errors that we have. Oh, it was because I meant to mention to Aaron that if he's making production things like, oh, this is a good idea for you. It's a thing we should probably tell others to do on their production servers, of like, hey, turn on the error emails so you get emails whenever like something goes wrong on production. And if you don't understand what it is, you can always like forward the email to us and we'll help you out with it, because that is, as bad as it is the best. I do feel like it is the best way that we can make sure that like, at least it gives me a bit of peace of mind of like, okay, there aren't any actual big errors that are going on. And anytime we do get them, it's fairly quick that like I can quash them. But it's mostly like without that, like we don't really know. And at least there have been a few other things that I keep popping up as like errors, and I'm realizing that I checked last week, but I hadn't checked like the end of last week, and there's stuff that was like failing over the weekend, and I trying to figure that out. But I don't quite know how to like better handle rollouts to production from that, other than let's just start adding a bunch more tests. I don't even know if there are that many more like interviews we have that are very Python heavy that like we could work with unit tests, or if we just do a lot more Kiln things. But as I think there was a discussion earlier today that was like Kiln is still sort of intermittent and flaky on test, and the more we add to, or the more repos we put on Kiln, the more things are going to get flaky, unless we do something else. But yeah, I don't quite know how to approach or deal with rollouts of new packages.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I mean, yeah, I guess we should follow up on that
We can follow up on some other things, but I guess more like just because it is mostly technical things, but I don't really know if there's like an admin-y solution to it, or at least a process solution that would be.
Well, one thing we've kind of already decided to do, but we didn't actually pull the trigger on, was getting rid of any of the legacy MAVC, the original code base stuff. Because I don't know if was this on the affidavit of indigency, or what was the error that might depend on which form it was on, whether that's
there were 3 errors. One was in the feedback, and that was code that I had recently added, so that one was like my fault, and things that were in beta. So like that was like fine and expected. There was one that was also I think something I added, but it was in like MA quartz, and I think that was also something I addressed because it was sort of the big nested like thing of, oh, we were adding a list to something that shouldn't have been a list, and so just adding a lot of like extra typing and stuff helped that. And there's another one that I'm trying to figure out what's going wrong, because it doesn't even look like it's the current code, but it's it looks like it's in the appeals email part, where we have a like court email is this, and we print out what the email is, but it's none, and Python yells at you when you try to do a string plus none. But I can't actually figure out what the root cause is there, because that's code that was changed at least a year ago. Like that's not recent code that has been touched, and so and it looks like it's the right version and everything. And so I'm trying to actually figure out what the issue is there. But I'm not really sure what other process things to have there, other than like it felt a little rushed of like, let's try and get everything. And once we had all of the like link the start pages of things still worked, there were still quite a few other bugs that were in the way. Mostly just to note that that was good, but I don't think it quite worked as well. And we definitely need more going forward.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's not totally surprising at all.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out still like why the court bug didn't surface earlier, because it sounds like it was the MA quartz repo hasn't changed in forever. So why did it just suddenly pop up?
Yeah.
That one I saw, Bryce, by the way, and I should have also checked to see if there was an error email about it and deleted it, but I fixed it. It was already fixed. It was just upgrading the version of MA quartz was what was required. So I'm sorry
you already fixed it?
I'd already installed the new version, checked it, and verified that it worked.
Okay, cool. I had seen some stuff like I was on like yesterday and Saturday on it, so I wasn't sure if you had looked at it over then. Okay, that's good.
If a new error came in, let me see what time the issue was.
Yeah, I can double check when I was just.
This was, I think it was on the MAVC affidavit of indigency.
So there's a few on Sunday that were different things that were not us. On Friday, like Friday at 5:30 is the latest one that I'm looking at.
Let me see what time that issue came in and when it closed it.
Was that something that someone had done the feedback issue on?
Someone did a feedback on.
Okay.
And this was 3 days ago. So let me see. That's all it says. It doesn't tell me the time.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been. if you hover over 3 days, I think it gives you the exact time, but that would be Friday, so sometime. That
Yeah. September 16th, 9:40 a.m. You said it was 5:30.
9:40 a.m. So yeah, so that would, well, if you would, I don't know if when you fixed it, if you didn't fix it until later today.
Well, one thing you can do is
Take a
like,
closer look at it.
yeah, we should take a look and make sure it really did actually upgrade, did fix it. The issue that the person presented as, I can't enter my contact information, but the issue really was the next screen was the court page and it couldn't display.
Okay.
One thing that's really helpful when you're troubleshooting it, it's not like a proactive thing, is to open the person's answer file, figure out what interview they were in, see if you can reproduce it yourself by looking at the answers.
That's fair. I haven't been, at least most of the email notifications we get don't have user, it's not tied to a user usually. There was one I was
just do like a quick walkthrough of like what you do to do it. So
I was gonna say there was one I was scrolling through that did have an email, but most of them don't. This isn't okay. I was gonna say making sure this is a prod because we are recording, but yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I did. Yeah. So I just went to the dashboard and then I click on view answer files.
Mm-hmm.
I choose the file name. Most of these are junk because we don't have very many interviews installed on this server.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not actually sure which one would be helpful. Okay, then I click on the file name I want, and then I can just see, it doesn't tell you a lot, but it tells you what page they were on. So you can kind of see from the date and the page number, and it only shows the most recent 500 sessions. But usually that's enough if you get the error close in time to be able to go in and see, oh, I'm going to open this and just see if I can get to that same error screen.
Yeah. Okay.
It doesn't work for some kinds of interviews, obviously. The Weaver is not going to be a really good example of one you could jump back at a random place.
That's right. I was going to say, this is the one it's using answer sets, and so it's getting rid of like any uploaded files and stuff, right?
Yeah, the answer set does get rid of uploaded files. You're right. Yeah, it's not actually, no, it doesn't. This one just is using, you jump into the same session. So uploaded files should be fine.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually not sure why I can't open those this way, but I can tell you, that's how I tracked down the issue with MA Courts, the last one on Friday.
Okay, that's good to know this.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I guess we could do is always upgrade everything to the latest version, which has its own risk. But if we're just updating our docassemble packages, at least we know there's not like a version mismatch and there's a bug that we fixed. MA Courts was one where we fixed the bug already. You're muted, Bryce.
Sorry. Yeah, that could be a thing that helps. I think the other thing that I've sometimes run into is I'm not sure, which I have to go and check a lot, is I'm not sure if we've properly bumped the version number in the package as we've like changed things. And so like if we like fixed a bug but we didn't bump the version in the package, and then then you go into the server and you're like, oh, it's the most recent version, like something else must be it. And no, it's just like it was 2 commits behind on the same version, which I feel was somewhat of a...
Yeah, that's like a process thing we could probably improve easily just by saying, okay, if we're fixing a bug, always increment the version number, unless you think, oh, well. But also if we just update everything, if we have like a one-click update everything button that we do when we do a production release, then we at least will know that it was up to date as of the time you updated. Everything was updated at once, at least. That's what you would know.
That's right. Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's a ton of non-technical like stuff to change here. More of just awareness of it's hard. It's a hard problem still.
Yeah. Well, as far as like the affidavit of indigency, I think what we talked about turning off the email feature for that form. It's our most popular form. But we think that maybe courts aren't actually accepting it by email anymore. So should we just, I think we know they're not at this point, right? Like there's not many courts that are going to be doing anything with it now, 2 years into the pandemic. So we should probably just turn that off.
Agreed.
One thing I was thinking of is because it's our best linked form,
Does
Should
that-
we tailor the content on the landing page? Because people get to the landing page from a link on mass.gov to say, hey, wait, there are more things you can do on our site besides this. Is this the thing you need to do? Or do you need to do one of these more specific things? I don't know. Should we try to use that free real estate?
We can talk about that more
Okay.
later.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be for now, for sure.
Either way, I think that's the only admin thing that's been on my mind recently.
Okay. All right, Michelle.
I think my couple things are probably deep dive things like the feasibility of like L kiln tests in this context, given the experiences we've had, and the document download and view page, and Michael's feedback on that, or Matthew's feedback on that.
Okay.
And I didn't know, sometimes we discuss visual stuff in here and sometimes we don't. That's it.
I got nothing.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think I have anything either. So. All right.